Greetings everybody. The idea for this video came from a fellow YouTuber and VC member. That would be Tim Allen, who decided to take the Beatles Capitol albums and rank them from least to best. I like that idea and I figured I'd do the same thing. Now, there's no rhyme or reason to the albums I decided to use here and some albums that I left out. I didn't use albums like, for example, the White Album and Sgt. Pepper, basically because the UK albums are the same as that album. I try to use the US albums where they were a little different. And I'm sure that there's been a few favorites I've left out here. So I just looked for 20 titles. I wanted to make it kind of an even amount. I found 20 albums here so I can rank them. You might as well count as you go along because I'm going to lose track of what the numbers are. But we're going to start with this one here that I picked as the least of the 20 albums. And that would be The Beatles Story. This is a really worthless, in my opinion, documentary of sorts. I'm sure this was really informative in 1964, but by today's standards, there lives very little to be found out about the Beatles, that we don't already know. But this is interesting only as a nostalgia piece. So that goes for my pick as number 20. Now we have number 19. I picked Real Music. This is another one of those cash-in, crash-grab ideas that the Capitol Records would put out. This is Beatles movie songs, and the cover I never really cared for either. Cartoon images of the Beatles going to the theater to see their movies, whatever. It's, nothing special. Number 19. Here's my pick for number 18. The Beatles' 20 Greatest Hits. Now, the reason I picked this was because, first of all, I hate this cover. I don't know what it is, even down to the new cover, recent decades or years for the one album. What the heck are they thinking, when it comes to just putting the name or number one? I like nice covers, so that's nothing. But I suppose this was for the time. It's a pretty concise collection, but it also loses points because they chopped a whole bunch off the song Hey Jude to get the songs to fit on the album. So in the coda part of Hey Jude, they chopped a lot off there. So that's my pick for number 18. Now for number 17, I'm already going to be losing the count. I put the Beatles' Love Songs. I like the cover of this album, and again, it was just like, let's put out another. We put out all other kinds of Beatles songs, albums. Let's put another compilation out of their softer songs, their love songs. It's a nice package, I gotta say, but in the ranking, it would fall for me at number 17. Next I have, for number 16, this is the Beatles Rarities, the US version. I say not very interesting today, but at the time when it was released in 1980, there was some good stuff here. Odds and ends that you might have missed. Now we got number 15. Beatles Live at the Hollywood Bowl. This is a very arbitrary ranking. This could probably be something that would go much higher. Actually, it's like the only real good live album that the Beatles ever had out. So it's really a good effort, good effort of a mixture of the 1964 and 1965 concerts together in one package. It's number 15 if I'm doing my math right. You might notice something about these albums, by the way. I'm kind of ranking them with the compilation albums first, and then later on the regular plain albums, kind of. We have this one, number 14, which I really can't praise this album enough. I think this album tends to get a lot of backlash, and I don't know why. I'm partial to it. I'm biased towards it because when I was really starting to really become a real Beatles fanatic and collector, when I was 14, this just came out. This came out in '76. So this was really a big deal for me, the Beatles Rock and Roll Music. A lot of people pick on the packaging. I love the packaging, some of it. I love this picture. I think that's a great picture. I like the foil. The only thing is, the Rock and Roll Music letters always get picked on because they look like the 1950s when the Beatles are really the 60s. And nobody needs these phony thumbs on the cover. If you take the thumbs away, and I think this is a really great cover with a silver background, and the material rocks. Like I say, it's some of the heavier music, the rock and roll songs, and I think it was a great package. But I may be letting my bias show. Now, I didn't include the Red and the Blue albums in here. I don't know why. I suppose if I was going to rank the Red and the Blue albums, I'd put them next. I'd put them, as the best of the compilations. 62 to 66 and 67 to 70. But now we're going to get down to, I'm going to just count them and make sure. What are we down to? That was number 14. Hope I got these right. I got 13 albums left. This is, the least to the best. We got to start with the US version of Revolver as the least. Why do I say that? Well, because it's missing a couple of songs. Well, there's always going to be songs missing on the US counterparts, but these are crucial songs. I mean, this is the one case where I really think that the UK original has this album beat. I mean, you're taking a couple of John songs off here that really would have been really good on here, and it really is a shame. So that's going to be my least. I think this is number 13. Number 12, the early Beatles. I mean, not a bad album at all, but as I think Tim brought up in his video, introducing the Beatles by VJ, it was here first. That's better than this, I think. So this would be number 12, the early Beatles. It's a little short. Okay, I actually put this ahead of the early Beatles. This is the Help soundtrack album, and I'm fond of this album. Everybody hates the album. They probably would have put it dead last because it's got instrumental music tracks on here from the movie. But being, as I always say every time I defend this album, being a movie fan, a fan of the movie Help, as well as the songs from Help, I love having this, and I like to hear the music in between the songs. When I want to play just the music, Beatles music from it, I'll play the UK. When I want to hear a soundtrack to the score of the movie Help, I play this. I like it. I think it's underrated. Now, I'm losing track here. Let's see. I think that was number 11. Let's see if these are the top 10. I just want to see. Hold on a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I got 10 albums left. Here's my top 10. Alright. I'm going to start at number 10, again with a soundtrack. The United Artists version of A Hard Day's Night. Iconic cover. The cover grabs me right away. I don't just vote on things just for the covers, but I love the cover of this. I like it much better than the UK one, even though you get more pictures on the UK one. I just love these iconic cut-off images in black and white. Anyway, the George Martin score, I like it. I like the George Martin score. I think they did a good job with it, presenting the movie songs and the George Martin music together. But it's at the bottom of the top 10. Then for the 9th one, I picked the Beatles 6, which I think is a good compilation. I like all of these. I should mention right from the top. All these ones I'm showing you, I like. It's just that, it's very difficult to rank them in orders of favorites. What can I say about this? It's a good combination of songs from the Help album, which never sounded right to me. Side 2 of the UK Help album never sounded right to me. Maybe because I grew up with the US albums, I don't know. But I mean, having stuff on here like, it also uses good songs off Beatles for Sale, like 8 Days a Week, works so well on here. You got 8 Days a Week on here, and you got Kansas City, and you got I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. But also the songs from Help, like Tell Me What You See and You Like Me Too Much. Songs that really, to me, never fit with the Help soundtrack. But the real standout of this is because you get to have the song Bad Boy on here, A Rocker from John, which was actually recorded and put out just for this album. This was actually the premiere of that song, even over the UK. So that's a highlight of this. And it also has the B-side, the Ticket to Ride, the song Yes It Is, which is on here. So this is, people are always putting the Capitol albums down, and the purists, and I'm as much of a purist as I am myself. I do like the idea now and then of these Capitol albums. They really managed to make good, solid albums, taking songs, stray B-sides, stray albums that, without having to go collect a whole bunch of 45 discs to conjure up, or EPs, just have it all together as an album. I like that. So I have that at number 9. Now number 8, maybe this surprises people. I didn't really know where to put this. I like the Hey Jude album. This came out in 1970. It also ties up a bunch of loose ends. You have stuff like, you know, the Hey Jude and Revolution single. And then you have Paperback Writer and Rain on here, Lady Madonna. You have Don't Let Me Down, which should have been on the Let It Be album. Ballad of John and Yoko and Old Brown Shoe. It's a little awkward on here. I've always thought having I Should Have Known Better with Can't Buy Me Love. They don't really fit on here because they're so much earlier. But the reason they're on here is because they were not on a proper Capitol album up to this point. So that's why they're on there. But, you know, it's missing songs. Like, it would have been nice if I'm Down was on here to pick up that B-side. Would have been nice if The Inner Light was on here. Okay. So now we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Number 7. It's hard to rank these. It really is. They're all favorites. Number 7, I went with Rubber Soul because, I mean, I love the U.S. Rubber Soul. I like it better than the U.K. It's just, a lot of fans are mixed on this. I love it starting out with I've Just Seen a Face. The beginning of that song begs to open up an album. It sounds like it's a beautiful sunny morning, and I can just see the woman getting up and opening up her curtains just to the beginning of letting the sun into I've Just Seen a Face. And I love It's Only Love starting out, the B-side of this side too. You miss some songs here. You know, you miss certain songs, but fear not, because Capitol put them on another album. But I really think those songs, I've Just Seen a Face and It's Only Love, are really crucial to this album. But that's because I'm biased because I grew up with it. I know I'm going to get a lot of disagreements. Okay, number 6. I put Something New as number 6. Again, you know, you have songs for the movie A Hard Day's Night on here that weren't on a Capitol album. If you had the United Artists album, you got repeats. But you also managed to get, again, what I like, you know, rescuing some of those stray British EPs, you know, and you managed to get stuff like Slow Down on here and Matchbox, you know, stuff that was kind of like left off some of the albums, you know, like, 'cause that's the way they did it in England, you know. They always felt that they were giving the customers more bang for their buck by not repeating singles and putting them on the album, just not making them buy the singles over again. But now in retrospect, if you're a record collector, I always feel it's so much more convenient having a whole bunch of LPs with everything concise on them, rather than having to have an LP, an EP, a 45 RPM, and have all these different size records and change the spindles and everything. It's so much more concise having them here. And you also got the added treat here, which was unique at the time, really, of having the German version of I Want to Hold Your Hand on here, Come Give Me a Dime a Hand, which is pretty good. I mean, that's a bonus. Now I'm down to the 5. You know, it's hard to pick a top 5. For number 5, I went with Yesterday and Today. The whole history of this with the Butcher cover. This is not a Butcher cover copy, but the whole history with the Butcher cover. And say what you will, but they made a nice, concise album here. They put Drive My Car on here. I'm Only Sleeping, which should have been on Revolvers here. You get Nowhere Man, that was on Rubber Soul from UK. You know, Dr. Robert. Yesterday, Act Naturally. It's really a good combination of songs. And then starting side 2 with Anya Bird Could Sing. How great a side opener is that song? Just comes crashing in. If I Needed Someone, We Can Work It Out, and Day Tripper, the 2 singles that you have here. I mean, you know, What Goes On by Ringo is also added. I mean, you got the A and B side of the single. We Can Work It Out, Day Tripper. Don't have to have the single separate. You got it together. Okay, now these are my picks for the top 4. I'm going to surprise some people that know me, I think. I tried to, like, as best I could, I tried to, like, take off my own personal prejudice as far as what I like the best, and what I thought I put what I think really are the best. Not just my personal preference too much, but number 4, whoops, I went with Beatles 65. Much better listen to me, in my opinion, than Beatles for Sale. It's got a lot of Beatles for Sale songs on here. I love the way they use I'll Be Back from the Hard Day's Night album as a second track here. I like I'll Be Back much better as a second song than the last song, as it is on the UK Hard Day's Night. And the highlight for me is the single again of I Feel Fine and She's a Woman. And yep, it took me a lot of years to appreciate the echo version of the reverb, but I like it. I like the I Feel Fine and She's a Woman versions on here. The US reverb, it just sounds like a tougher record. I just really like it. You know, the last three are hard really to rank, I'll be honest with you. And in fact, as I'm making this video live, I'm thinking of actually changing my order around, and I will. This is number 3. Now, I've often called the Beatles' second album my personal favorite album of all time. This is, in many ways, my personal favorite album. Why? Well, for one thing, it has a very good rockin' sound to it. I think it doesn't let up. You put on side 1 and start with Roll Over Beethoven. By the time you get to She Loves You at the end, it's breathtaking. You know, it's just really good. And I like, again, with this album, how it uses stuff like some singles like Thank You Girl is on here, and you have Long Tall Sally from the EP and I Call Your Name from the EP are used here. You're using She Loves You and I'll Get You, one of my favorite 45s of all time, are here. They're both here as 145. It's really a nice package. My favorite album of all time, but I was trying to be a little more objective in ranking these. That was number 3. Now, number 2, this is something I don't think Tim showed. I don't know if he thought of it or what, but I thought of it. In some ways, this album I'm going to show is actually worthy of being number 1. Number 1 and number 2 are hard. I put this for number 2. Magical Mystery Tour. The reason I put this is really a U.S. creation. Now we all know that this is a worldwide universal album. I mean, this is what the UK now uses as the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour stuff, and every country really uses this, but it was really the U.S. that decided to put, again, the singles together. I mean, you know, you had the Magical Mystery Tour songs on side 1, and then side 2, you get all the singles and the B-sides. Hello, Goodbye, I Am the Walrus, Strawberry Fields Forever, Penny Lane, Baby You're a Rich Man, All You Need Is Love. I mean, you really get it all together here. A beautiful 1967 collection, all in one shot. In some ways, this is the number 1 album. In my opinion, just for what it did. It managed to become, you know, the staple now for Magical Mystery Tour. You know, never mind the old double EP that they used to have in England. This is now canon. This is a canon record. But number 1, I had to go with, ta-da, Meet the Beatles. This was the Beatles' capital introduction in the U.S., you know. You had Introducing the Beatles, but this is a great album. What can I say? You know, again, I Want to Hold Your Hand starts the album. How terrific is that? Followed by I Saw Her Standing There, you know, which is a great second song. And then you have This Boy, no longer relegated to a 45, but on here. Great compilation of songs. It really goes together. In some ways, it's a lot more satisfying than With the Beatles, the second original UK album, which I'm a big fan of and I think is underrated anyway on its own. Anyway, so that's my ratings of this, my rankings, and tomorrow you ask me, I'll change a few around. So, that was a lot of fun. Thanks.